This meeting to order, Mount Anthony Union meeting. The first presentations, we have no, as far as I know, we have no presentations.
No
this evening.
presentations.
No presentations. We can go on to public comments. Anybody in the public like to make a comment? All right, we can then.
So I'm asking to follow the public open meeting law correctly. We have an amendment to our agenda, but it was under the 48-hour window, so we couldn't do it. The athletic director sent us the winter coach nominations Friday afternoon. Friday was a holiday, so HR didn't get them till Monday, and it wasn't enough time to process them. So, and it was too late to put it into the packet. So I'm asking you to take a vote to amend the agenda to take action on the winter 2016 coaching nominations.
I'll amend it.
We have a second? Second. Second. Any discussion on that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You want to just,
And we could add that to part of the consent agenda?
yes, that's what I'd like to do, add it to part of the consent agenda. I'd like to, do we have enough to pass them out?
Yes, I
Let me
do.
pass these out so that you can glance over them. I've been told that all these coaches, with the exception of one, are presently employed by the district and have gone through the necessary security checks.
The only caution I have is that HR has not, the figures here are how do I word this? HR still needs to vet everybody who's on this on this list, but as Tim said, most are current coaches. So we will give you it next month if there's any correction. We'll give that to you, but the athletic director wants to get going with confirming these appointments. But because HR is in the middle of doing the required seniority lists right now, they're a little swamped to have turned this around that quickly.
Anybody have any question on any of this? So we'll make that a part of the consent agenda and hopefully give you enough time just to go over that list so that if you do have questions on an individual, hopefully we can answer them for you. Okay, we can go down to the treasurer's finance, the treasurer's report. We need a motion
I'll
to...
move for approval.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Budget status report is for your information only. In terms of finance, I'd like to just make it perfectly clear that we are starting with the budgetary process. The budgetary process is often a difficult process. What we are doing, the board does have a financial committee made up of 4 members. They will meet. Any board member is obviously welcome at those meetings. Our general procedure is we try to pick a day and a time so that it will be consistent through the period. Renee Gordon, who is our financial officer, will be meeting with us the first part, either the 28th, 29th, or 30th, to establish that. And once I've had the opportunity to get in touch with all the members of the committee to find the most convenient date of those 3 dates, you'll get a notice saying that the meeting will be held and where it will be held and what time it will be held. The first meetings are organizational meetings where we are informed as a board as to the general outlook for the coming year, general outlook as to what financial position we are in at the present time. As I understand it, our audit is almost complete.
Yes.
And we've got a pretty good indication as to what our fund balance will be and that sort of thing. That committee will be responsible for approving the manner in which the discussions will take place. So more on it as time goes on. Does anybody have any questions on that?
So we don't have it confirmed which one of those days
No,
yet?
I haven't had a chance. I just talked to Renee, and
Yeah.
she's trying to get figures
I know
together.
was it yesterday? We
Yesterday.
felt the 3 days,
Yeah.
potential days for the
Yeah.
first meeting.
This is a busy time for her, and I want to be sure that when we have that meeting, that she has the figures ready to present to us. Okay, we can move down to the consent agenda. Fran,
I'll move it.
you have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on the consent agenda?
And that does
That does include
winter coaches.
the winter coaches?
So will we see the non-forms then for each of these next?
Yes.
Next time.
Yep.
What Tim would do, because we don't meet for a month, and obviously the winter coaches are going to be fully employed or fully working by that time, we want to be able to move ahead on it. If there's any problem, we certainly will let you know. Are there any questions on any other aspects of the consent agenda? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, I think we'll skip, Leon is supposed to be here. I had an email from him, said he would be here at 7. He's not, so I think we'll just skip that until he gets here. So we can move on then, down to the administrative reports. Tim?
Thank you. Forgot to have a new teacher in the building I need to introduce. The folks who have students on 7th grade OASIS team have been working patiently with me as we have been trying to hire a certified math teacher for the 7th grade math OASIS team. And we were very happy to welcome Mike Pakanowski to school on Monday. He's been supported by the math department and by guidance. He will be teaching 4 sections of 7th grade math for us. He seems excited to be here. The team is very excited to see him here. And so we're going to be moving forward. Just a note for parents who might be watching this evening. Mr. Pack and I will be sending home with students on Friday an introduction letter for families so they will know a little bit about him. There's some questions about grades because there's been a substitute in place for such a long time. He also is an early adopter of proficiency, so he wants to explain that to parents what that will look like in his classroom. So parents should be asking their students, and we'll send a letter home, but we'll also make a phone call to homes to remind parents to look in book bags for that letter for some information for them. Last Tuesday, the 8th, we used our 90-minute delay schedule again, very successfully. Students were here at 8 o'clock, but for the first 90 minutes of the day, we had building-wide activities around the PLP, this personalized learning plan, for all grades 6 through 8. I got to be a part of the 7th grade experience, which involved about 20 students from Bennington College coming to the middle school and offering a variety of activities that students could choose to participate in. So a lot of smiling kids, a lot of smiling adults participating. But I think the highlight of my morning was the 45-minute debrief with the college kids after to talk about their experiences. It was a lot of fun to see a 20-year-old saying things like, I had this great plan and it didn't quite work out the way I thought it would. But there were moments of, pure joy, kids connecting with them, really enjoyed it. I want to thank Susan Scorbati for organizing that on the college's side and Amy Moriarty on our side. We look forward, we'll be working with the college throughout the rest of the year on the PLP activities. So it was a very good start to the day. It's been a busy week in the middle school. We hosted speakers. Teams have been inviting speakers in. We had people talking about history. We had a dramatic presentation of Edgar Allan Poe. I wanted to say Ms. Powers' class has been working busily for the last couple of days. They are preparing for their annual holiday meal, which has been a really pleasant experience as you walk in the hallways. They cooked 125 pounds of turkey today, so there was turkey and gravy and potato smells up and down the hallways. It made it hard to work sometimes. They will be hosting their meal tomorrow at 12 o'clock here. They're anticipating quite a crowd. And it's a very nice annual event here at the middle school. End of trimester 1 for the middle school. We are a trimester system here, 60 days in. Our trimester ends this Friday, which is the 18th. Parents should look forward to seeing report cards with by the 25th. I know that's bad timing, that's the Friday after Thanksgiving, or students call it Black Friday. But that's where we are in the marking period. And then lastly, I wanted to thank, I'll wear my parent hat here, my fifth grader had an opportunity to participate in the high school production of Oliver. I will not steal Glenda's thunder, but it is truly an amazing experience for our elementary school students and our middle school students to audition, practice, and perform with some truly amazing high school students. The singing, the acting, Mr. Bumble is it Mr. Bumble? Mm-hmm. Is Mr. Bumble still my favorite character? And that is a credit to the high school students who perform, but also to Lynn Sweet and Tim Foley. A truly amazing show, and I thank them as a parent for that opportunity for my fifth grader.
Very good. Thank you, Tim. Are there any questions of Tim? Very good. Glenda?
You are welcome. And I also wanted to publicly credit Tim Foley and Lynn Sweet and the cast and crew, both at the high school level, but also on the elementary and middle school level, for a truly fantastic production of Oliver. I went twice, saw both casts, and it truly was wonderful. So you are most welcome. I hope we get to do it again. In terms of more kudos, I would also like to send kudos to freshman Sarah Umflett, who continued her amazing season in cross country, and she truly was. I saw her run, and she is incredible, by placing 5th overall at the state championships, and she was the 4th freshman overall finisher at the New England Championships. So kudos out to Sarah and her coaches and her team, because if you have never seen the cross-country team run, you should. It's a true community experience. It's really a wonderful, wonderful time. Also, kudos to our volleyball team, who only in its second season as a varsity sport knocked off Burlington High School in the opening round of playoffs before falling to finalist Rice in the quarterfinals. And that the team and their coaches worked incredibly hard, and it's really, for a second season team to go that far, they deserve a standing ovation. So I'm giving it to you guys, even though I'm sitting down here. Our winter sports season begins on Monday, November 28th, with 5 new varsity head coaches in place. Marcus Haas for boys basketball. Marcus is also one of our academic mentors. Dan Sleeman for girls basketball, Brian Kuhn for wrestling, Ann Webster Lang for swimming, and Jamie Capriola George for cheerleading. And so welcome to all of those folks, and we look forward to a winter sports season, and we hope to see all of you there. So I'm going to pass to Sophia now, and because I think Sophia is covering the only other thing I have on my agenda, so if she doesn't cover it, I'm taking the microphone back.
So on October 25th, we had Mix It Up Day, and this was very successful. We had, I believe it was about 85% student participation, which is very good. So student senate members were placed throughout the school, and they served donuts in the library, ice cream in the student center, and cookies in the atrium. And this was in order to encourage students to interact with others and to change up their lunch routines, go somewhere they wouldn't normally go, and stuff like that. So students who met a new person and introduced themselves were then entered into a raffle for prizes that were donated by local businesses, all of which received thank you cards written by the students. And so that really encouraged people to, talk to others they wouldn't normally talk to, so that was very successful. And then last Wednesday and Thursday, Student Senate held a volleyball tournament, and there were 13 teams and dozens of students that participated in that. Everyone had a lot of fun. The kids really get into that, and so that was good. And Student Senate has also been working with Mrs. Estes Quilting and Sewing Class on an initiative to make and donate blankets to patients at the hospital. And so we're still working on that, but that's been good because we're working with the community and the hospital a bit. And they've also been trying to organize a winter ball, but we still need to find a DJ. So if anyone knows someone who would be willing to do this, they can contact the school and let us know. We believe that the school climate has really changed for the better a lot recently, and it's a good sign that we can consider having winter dance again after, a few years ago when there's some issues with that. And, they were talking about Oliver, which, from a student perspective went really well. I know a lot of people who went and saw it. Everyone was very excited about it. People that were in the production, people that weren't. And then, yes, fall sports season wrapped up. All the teams have been having their banquets the past couple of weeks. And with the winter season right around the corner, there have been captain's practices for a lot of the sports teams. So people are starting to get, back into that. And then also, beginning soon will be the Spirit of Sharing. And many clubs and teams will be volunteering to help get gifts for families. So everyone's really excited about that.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Any questions of Sophia? Did she cover your issue?
She didn't. So, Sophia, I thought you would talk about the PLP work that you're doing.
No.
You want to?
I mean, I can add to that, sure.
All right, so jump into this if you want to. So, some teachers brought forward an idea for beginning work on the personalized learning plans, having students in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade collaborate with seniors. And we came up with 3 central questions that we're really having the seniors help us look at. And so 2 weeks ago, I trained 50 seniors to go in and begin PLP conversations with 9th, 10th, and 11th graders through their advisory periods. And those conversations, I think, have been going really well.
Glenda, let me interrupt just a minute. If for those people that may be watching that aren't really familiar with that program, the PLP type thing, maybe you just very briefly explain what that is.
Okay, I can do that. So the personalized learning plan is for every student, and every student begins to think about their skills, their interests, their goals, both current and future goals. And we begin to think about the pathway through high school that will help them meet those goals. And so these are the preliminary conversations that we're beginning to have. We will be heading in January into conversations with students and parents, where students will begin to talk about their PLPs. And to get ready for that, our seniors have been opening conversations about their high school experience, things you guys wished you knew in 9th grade and had planned for, and really beginning to look at interests and skills and courses. And the students, I think, have been responding really well to it. And we really have some interesting things on paper, and people are talking about it. I had a boy come to me yesterday and say that his goals, and they have been this since he was in 7th grade, he wants to head to the Air Force. He wants to major in aerospace technology. And so what's the high school going to do about that? And that came up because of a conversation he was having with a senior. So I think that's pretty spectacular. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I'm one of the seniors that has been going into the other seminars, and it's really great. I think that, everyone's learning things just because, you know what courses you want to take, but you might not have heard of all of them. So, getting different perspectives has been great. A lot of students I've heard them say, like, oh, I didn't know that was a class you could take. And I think everyone's a lot more aware, even, in the first few weeks, of different courses they can take. And everyone that I've seen has been very open to helping each other, so it's really great to see that.
Thank you. Any questions of any of the 3? If not, we will...
Mr. Chairman, before we go any further, are we going to do how long do you want to hold your photographer? Do you think we're going to get any other members here?
That's probably a good point. How about, why don't we wait till Paul finishes and then we'll do it. Paul, do you have anything to bring up?
Nothing directed to the board.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Paul? All of our new security systems at the high school and middle school are working well?
They are working well. A couple glitches every now and again in the computer system, but working through it.
Good.
Still working to do a little bit better signage at the high school. But that's something just
Yeah,
that's the way things.
Just because sometimes that, only because I've been there a few times, but that way you gotta press the button and then wait, there's no sign that tells you what's gonna happen. It would be good to have a little sign above that. You sit there and wonder what you should do. It's a little confusing. Paul, how are we on chips and all the rest?
Started wood chip burning this week at
Okay.
high school and middle school. Temperatures have still been close to 50s in the daytime. So we're still in that odd period. We're treated at the high school very tough to regulate the entire building. English wind, a couple others are very warm. math, science, down by my house, particularly Jim, cool, but working for it.
Good. Anybody have any questions of Paul? Okay, we'll take a short break to have our picture taken. Judy, where would you like us?
If like the people on this side could just come behind the board members, that would be great.
So you don't have a chimney that needs to be cleaned every year?
Well,
The fire company comes there once in a while. Oh, really? That's nice. Not good planning.
okay. Shrink a little so I look taller. I don't want to stay next to.
Okay, on three, I'm just gonna take a few, ready? You don't have any eyes closed, ready? 1, 2, 3. You're not going. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Judy, do you have a list of people that are missing?
I can get the list of.
Okay, I think we're missing 3, Jim? 4.
4.
4? 4.
Do we currently have someone who?
All right, we can go on to the Education Committee. Dave?
Yeah, the Education Committee met earlier this evening, and so I'm bringing recommendations on 4 new courses that we reviewed and that you may have looked at as well if you were looking at the committee's packet. I'll list the courses in a minute, but just wanted to say that approving these courses just means adding them to the program of studies. It doesn't have any budget implications. It doesn't mean we're hiring new teachers. It's simply saying, yes, we think that these are courses that would be good for the school to offer its students. They may not be taught every year. They may not be taught this coming year unless there's enough enrollment. But each of them has been approved, or rather reviewed by the principal, who brought them to us along with the rationale for why she believes they would be good to add to the program of studies. I'll just list the courses first of all. One is Mandarin Chinese, which is sounds like you'd be learning the Chinese language, and that's part of it. It would not be a language course. It's a culture and introduction to the language. It would be a short block earning a half a credit with a numerical grade. Students would need to have already a credit in a foreign language, a non-native language. So that's Mandarin Chinese. The second class is economics, introduction to economics, called Must Be the Money, which is going to be would be offered as either a short or a long block just to gauge interest, and one of those would be selected. It would be for students in 11th and 12th grade. It's a social studies class. It would be a social studies credit. We don't teach any economics at the moment at the high school. It would be different from the financial literacy class that we currently offer. The third class is Citizenship and Our Environment. This is a team-taught class. It would be half social studies and half science credit. It would be a class that develops an understanding of the science behind many of the critical challenges we face today, while exploring the related social, economic, and political issues as well. So I imagine it would be looking at global warming, for example. The other issues that are in the news all the time that are science related. That would be, again, either a full block, or I guess it doesn't say whether we're anticipating it to be a long or a short block.
That would be a long block.
Long block, okay, thank you. And that would be graded numerically, but also would start using the proficiency grading system that we're going to be moving into over the course of the next year or so. And then the fourth class is AP Environmental Science. Currently, we don't have an AP course in environmental science. This would be a year-long, with half of the year being a short block, numerical grading. This is a hybrid class, including some hard science and methods in chemistry, biology, and ecology, as well as earth systems. Integrating information, writing scientifically, collaboration, and problem solving are stressed. So those are the 4 classes. The committee heard from the principal. We had a chance to ask her some clarifying questions, and then we recommended all 4 of them to bring to the full board for its approval. So if
Can I
you
just
have...
add one thing?
Please, yeah.
You probably mentioned, but
Maybe not.
I must have missed it. These classes did not require hiring any new staff. In other words, the staff that would run those classes are already employed, and they would have the time to run those classes. Correct, Glenda?
And, that's a further discussion that you can certainly have, that the board can have when we move into the budgeting timeframe if there are concerns about that. But yeah, no, this is just really, are we comfortable adding these to the program of studies? So I think I covered the essentials there. Are there questions or comments on any of it? Most of the board was here for the meeting, not everybody, so.
I'll make a
I think the key to what you said is there's no budgetary impact unless we so make it if we're going into a budget season. Also, we're teacher negotiations too, so this is all going to play a part when we get there, so we'll have to make some tough choices, I'm sure, so anyway, thank you.
Can I make a motion, or do I make a motion to accept the 4 presented courses to be included in the curriculum offerings for the next academic year?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? You're running the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Very good.
Thank you. The only other thing we talked about at the meeting was adjusting the time for next month's meeting. And we're going to meet at 6:30. And we think we can cover what we intend to discuss in the 30 minutes before the regular meeting starts. 6:30 on the 21st, if that's when we're meeting again.
Finish your report, Dave, or?
Yeah, that's it from the Ed Committee.
Okay, very good. And an agenda for that next coming meeting will come out with the agenda for our regular meeting. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Renee is not here, the Senior Director of Finance and Operation. She is, when I came here, she was still at her desk. It is budget season, so because of all the extra budget meetings, I don't want you to think that she doesn't value the MAU meeting, but I've instructed her to preparing the budget's more important. So if you have any questions, you can relay them to me, and I will make sure she gets them. There is no Act 46 committee meeting tomorrow night. It was scheduled for tomorrow night at 6 o'clock at the CDC. That meeting has been postponed to December 1st due to a scheduling conflict with Shaftesbury, a special meeting in Shaftesbury, an important meeting on their facilities, and also, I believe, a lack of recorders available, so because they also get pulled into multiple directions too. So I do think at the meeting that we have, the 2 meetings we have had with Act 46, that there has been some positive discussion. We are working through the Articles of Agreement, some recommended changes, and I have no prediction on what the final outcome will be on that, but we are at least communicating and working and talking as a group. The other thing that is ongoing as with budgets, and it does impact our budget, is our transportation contract expires this year. So that RFP, which is when I first did the review of the first draft, I believe it's a 65-page document. And it will get weeded down a little, hopefully, because there's so many different contingencies that go into that, to make it to that. So I hope by the next round of meetings, that will be out, the RFP will be out for transportation. We also have teacher negotiations going on, and that we had our first teacher negotiating meeting this week. The next one will be on the 28th of November. And on the 29th of November will be either the third or fourth support staff negotiation. So it's been, particularly for HR and finance, it's difficult to keep supporting all of those negotiations on simultaneously, but we're doing it. On Monday, next Monday, I will have the final meeting on enrollment projections. That's another thing that everyone has been anxious to see. We do 10-year rolling enrollment projections. Every year we get it renewed. So the contractor that does that demographic projection for us has completed it, and we have a conference call with them on Monday to finalize everything that's in it. Then we will release that document after that to all the boards. And I know you talked about your budget meeting. We have had one SVSU meeting. Many of you did attend that. The next SVSU budget meeting will be on Tuesday, November 22nd, next Tuesday, 5 p.m. in central office. So that is open to all who would like to come. That's it.
Very good, thank you. Any questions for Jim? If not, Dave, and maybe others, did anybody else go to that meeting? What's the title of the meeting, Dave?
The School Board Association annual meeting.
Blake
Yeah.
Maury?
I don't think from this committee. I think it was just
Okay.
Dave, right?
Leon was there, actually. Yeah.
Dave went to it, and we had a very, very brief discussion of what he learned and the events that he attended, and I thought it might be interesting to have him give a brief summary of that occasion.
So, yeah, some of you may have attended that conference in the past, but didn't have a general idea of what happens. But it's an annual event that the Vermont School Board Association puts on at the end of October for a couple of days, and I've gone 3 or 4 times, I guess, and I really appreciate the chance to go. If you have to be able to work it into your schedule, and I've been fortunate enough that I can take the time off for a couple of days. Leon was there as well from this committee. I think we had 2 or 3 other board members from other districts in the SU that were there too. It's usually a mix of presentations by keynote speakers, breakout sessions where there are workshops. We heard from the Secretary of Education was there, and she addressed us. In the past, we've had candidates for office who were there. They were not there this time. But it's also a chance just to talk to other school board members from other towns around the state. I had just happened to sit next to I guess she was the chair of the Huntington School Board. Huntington's a town up north, and it's in a supervisory union that's been looking at, I mean, we've all around the state, of course, have been looking at merging. And the district that they're in, or the SU that they're in, had a vote maybe a year ago, I'm not sure what the timing was, to form a modified unified union school district, the model that we've been talking about possibly evolving into. And the district that she represented, Huntington, was the one district that didn't pass, didn't agree, didn't vote in favor of joining. So they're working now in a scenario where all the other districts have formed this MUD, and they're on the outside, and they still operate with central office and an SU, but now they're just the 2 districts. So it's not exactly parallel to our situation because they operate as an elementary school, unlike North Bennington, but and it doesn't necessarily match what Act 46 wants, but it may be acceptable to the State Board of Education down the road as an alternative. So it was really helpful just to talk to her and find out a little bit more about how that worked. we had, the second day, a lot of my time anyway was spent attending a keynote speech and then a couple of breakout sessions on the subject of bias, implicit bias. And I wasn't quite sure what that really meant until it was actually, it came up during one of the presidential debates. One of the candidates was talking about it in the context of racial bias. And that was part of what the presentation was on. And just implicit bias, in a nutshell, is bias that we all innately have as human beings and don't necessarily recognize. And a lot of the time was spent sort of getting us comfortable with that idea. I think everyone was sort of like, what do you mean we're all biased? Well, she approached it in a very comfortable way. So a little bit of it was on racial bias, but also gender bias, and which is maybe something that we're all more likely to encounter in Vermont on a regular, day-to-day basis in our actions. It made me think about, and I've been thinking about it since, the this issue of what was euphemistically called in another debate locker room talk. And I was reminded of that again the other day when I saw actually two stories in the news about athletic teams at Ivy League universities that have had to suspend their seasons because the men's teams were caught secretly keeping track of grading systems that they developed rating the physical attributes of women on campus. In one case, it was the Harvard men's soccer team, and then the wrestling team at Columbia, I just noticed yesterday, had the same issue come up. And so this is not just, an expression that we all heard and were a little bit horrified maybe during the presidential elections, but it's happening in elite universities as well. So I'm mentioning it only because, it occurred to me we're all responsible in some way anyway for the athletic program here at the high school, and we talk a lot about the success of teams, the scores, whether they have a winning season, whether they've had state championships year after year, but we also talk about the character building aspects of our teams. And I'm wondering, do we have some responsibility, as coaches, do we have responsibilities for helping address this issue that apparently is there, apparently it's out there, and is formed, I think, when kids are adolescents. So just mentioning that. I don't have girls myself, so I am not maybe thinking about it the same way a parent of girls would be. But anyway, that was one follow-up to the conference, and I guess I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Dave Durfee? I know that Dave Fredrickson has been involved with athletics and the general decorum that those members of the different teams display, and maybe sometime we could talk about that, Dave, and what you feel is the appropriate role of coaches and administrators in determining whether the product or the behavior of student athletes off the field is part of their responsibility. I don't know if I'm phrasing that very well, but I think you get the general idea.
We could, for future agenda, ask the athletic director to come to the meeting and address
Yeah.
and give a presentation on how we do address it, and I'm sure that we do. So
Yeah.
I'm looking at Glenda, that kind of, so maybe to keep it relevant, maybe see if he's available for the December meeting.
Sure.
To speak and address to those concerns.
Maybe, Dave, you could talk to Tim about it and see if he would be willing to follow through. Any other questions? The chair's report, I'd just like to report to you that Kevin Goodhue, who was a member of this board, unfortunately has had some serious illness, heart problems. I think he had to have a new valve put in or or some procedure done, and he'd hoped that the last time that he missed a number of meetings was due to that condition. He hoped that it had been corrected, but about a month ago, I guess he found that it hadn't. So he's in the hospital having some major heart surgery. I spoke with him, and he very much would like to remain a member of the board. He apologized for missing so many meetings, and I told him that, as far as I was concerned, that we look forward to having him back as soon as he can. He hopes to be back within the next month or so, next 2 months for sure. But I just thought I'd report about it because some people have made comments of why he isn't here. Fran, jump in here, but Jim has already mentioned, we are in the process of negotiating 2 major contracts, the teacher's contract and the support personnel contract. Those are long, in many cases, difficult procedures that we have to go through. This year is a particularly difficult year because there has been a complete change, or there will be a complete change in the way health insurance is offered to our employees, all the way from the administrators to the custodians and anything in between. And one of the challenges facing the negotiating team is trying to understand what our options are and present a program that we feel meets the needs, as they say, of both parties, both the teachers, the school community, as well as the public. Fran, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you said it the right thing, so.
Okay. Are there?
Do we want to go back to policies, or you would table?
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
I've completely forgot. Policies. School visit, the same policy that we looked at our last meeting. According to this, we need a vote to adopt it.
I'll move to adopt.
Any, have a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns on it? I tried to download it, but I have trouble downloading things from my iPad. But anyway, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Okay, then we warn the bully prevention program.
I'll move for warning.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, any noes or abstentions? Okay, and the last one, reporting of children vulnerability, adults abuse, sexual abuse, and sexual violence.
Move to warn.
Second.
Thank you. Any?
Just a request.
Yeah.
I can't bring it up on my screen right now, but looking at it earlier, it wasn't clear from the copy that was distributed where the changes were to the existing policy. And I don't think this is completely from scratch. I think there's existing language that's been added and modified. So it's always helpful to be able to see what's new and what's...
Right. I tried, as I said, I tried to look it up, and somehow or other I wasn't able to do that. We don't have to warn it right now if they're...
Yeah, I'm okay with warning it, but just...
Because you're not going to adopt.
We're not going to adopt it,
Yeah,
right,
it's
that's all I was
gonna
going to
come
say.
up again anyway.
We can warn it, and we'll get another chance to
Get a
take a look
clean,
at
or
it.
a marked up copy.
Yeah,
for next meeting.
that's a good point. Maybe we
I'll
can
make a
speak
note
to
of that.
Leon, that it would be good to know somehow, or at
A
least...
red-lined copy is...
Yeah,
Dave,
have a copy that would show us where changes have been made. So we have a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded. We've had a discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Very good. Are there any other
Got
issues?
one more.
Good. Optimum
64.
class size.
Optimum class size. Once again, a warning.
I'll move for warning.
Second.
Any discussion on that? I haven't been part of those. Once again, I couldn't, does that include all classes? In other words, is it done by middle school, elementary school, high school?
Yes.
It is. Okay, Dave, that's right, you're on that committee. Okay, and does that also include, when we say classes, does that also include short block and long block? Do we make a distinction between the two?
I don't think so,
Okay,
but it does, basically, the principal and superintendent that determine what the optimum class size is. It doesn't have a specific number.
okay. Well, we're just warning it, and hopefully by the next meeting, we'll all have a better chance to.
Well, usually if you're running a class, like CDC, it's got to be at least 10 students, or you don't run it. So, I mean, that's,
That isn't in the wording, though, Mike, is that right?
I don't think so.
Well, here it is.
Okay.
The administrative regulations have some numbers. Policy itself doesn't.
Right.
Let's see, at the secondary level, the total class rolls of an English language arts teacher shall not exceed 100 students.
Right.
In grades, there's one part, in grades 4 to 12, when taken together, classes shall average fewer than 25 students per teacher. So it's not so much about the number of students in any, minimum size in any particular class. And that's not in the actual policy, it's a regulation.
Well, we are just warning it, but I do think it's a critical policy, and we ought to understand what we're voting on when we finally vote to adopt it. So once again, we have a motion, and it's been seconded on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Now we come down to other. Are there any other issues that should be brought before this board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to
so
adjourn.
move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.